This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Hey, indie filmmakers, I'm Nick Bodmer.
I'm Griffin Hammond, and today we're explaining NFTs, the controversial digital art craze. Some people think NFTs are pointless, some people think they're inherently harmful to the environment, and some artists are making a lot of money.
I would like to make a lot of money. If I were going to pick one of those things, that's what I would pick.
Yeah, so there's a lot we want to talk about today, but I guess I want to start off by saying I do think that NFTs are problematic. So I don't see myself making any NFTs, but I am seeing a lot of people in the video profession making money this way. So I feel like we should talk about it.
I think we should. Absolutely. It's a little confusing if I'm being honest, but.
Yeah. Well, and I want to start with just a quick anecdote about how I even got interested in this. I mean, a lot of people are talking about NFTs over the last few weeks. I think for me, there's an artist named Kevin Parry. He's a stop motion animator.
Okay.
And I think I'd seen a bunch of tweets in my timeline about people talking about selling NFTs. And so I knew it was like an art thing. And then I saw Kevin say, hey, look, I turned one of my stop motion animations into an NFT. I'm going to sell it. And immediately all of the replies I saw were like, how dare you? In fact, he wrote a tweet, this tech is very polarizing. Responses are either excited to see you in the NFT space or burn in hell for destroying the planet.
Now that's interesting because maybe you sounds like you know more about this than me, but aren't NFTs just as destructive or costly in terms of energy as cryptocurrency in general?
Yeah, I think I've come to the conclusion that you can't blame an individual who dabbles in NFTs for harming the environment. But like a lot of things, collectively, NFTs and cryptocurrency do harm the environment. And we'll get into the details of that. I think first we should probably explain what this even is for people that aren't familiar. So yeah, I think we'll get to it, but I don't think you should pin the blame entirely on a particular artist.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning for people who've never even heard this word. What is an NFT?
So it is a non-fungible token. NFT, non-fungible token. So the first question you got to ask yourself is, what does fungible mean? Do you have an answer? I have a potential answer. You tell me if I'm right.
I do know this, yeah, because like on the blockchain with cryptocurrency, you can trade one Bitcoin for another Bitcoin, and they have the same value. A non-fungible token is something that is unique and can't just be simply traded for another one, right?
So I mean, like real world example. Dollar bills are fungible. $1 bill is just as good as any other dollar bill. Now, they're unique in that they have their own serial number, but that doesn't affect how you use them or anything like that. So dollar bills are fungible. Like they talk about, like oil is a fungible product, right? And one barrel of oil is exactly the same as another barrel of oil. It really doesn't.
I suppose
matter.
Anything that you could lose and an insurance company could just get you another one is pretty much fungible.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So an NFT is one of a kind thing.
Well, so it's interesting because like, why has the internet exploded, right? It's because things are endlessly copyable. Like that's what makes the internet, right? You can distribute a video to everyone in the world easily. You don't have to send everyone a DVD. You just copy the bits, and there's a copy for everybody, right? So there's no scarcity on the internet, or at least there wasn't until blockchain came around, right? And scarcity is one way we have value, right? Things have value because of supply and demand. If supply is infinite, then the value plummets to zero. So can we have things that are digital, but also make them unique and scarce? And I think that's what NFTs are trying to do. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Because the question that most people have about NFTs, now that you understand that they're like part of the blockchain and people are using them to make to sell a piece of art that's one of a kind, as you point out, usually art on the internet can be copied a million times, and it still can in this case. But the blockchain is just saying this NFT is quote unquote the original, or it's the one that we care about.
Right.
It's the one that comes with a certificate of authenticity and bragging rights.
So the question is, if you have an original Picasso painting and I have a perfect copy of it, you look at them, they look exactly identical, yours is worth a lot more. Well, why is that? We've copied it, they look exactly the same. I could tell somebody I've got the real one, but still yours has all the real value, and that's what I think what NFTs are trying to bring to the digital world. So I don't think it's totally ludicrous like some people seem to think, because at first it's kind of like, why would you pay $1 bajillion for something that everyone can download for free? But when you kind of think about it like that, I think it starts to make a little more sense potentially.
Yeah, I still think it sounds ridiculous. Like it's right now it feels like a playground for the rich, where if you have money and you want to own collectible internet stuff, you can, and maybe you could sell it and you could flip it and you can make money. People are certainly treating this like stocks and making money.
But isn't that the way the high-end art world works too, though?
Yeah.
Real paintings and photographs from real professional artists get bought and stored for value and sold again, and So I think
and it feels like a bubble that could burst, or like it kind of feels like right now, because there's scarcity of artists, like there's so few people who've jumped on to this bandwagon yet. Now is potentially the time to make a lot of money on it as an artist, because I'm seeing friends of mine that are selling stuff for like $500 or $2,000. The company I work for, The Recount, has a NFT for sale right now. They're kind of like experimenting in it. I don't know how I feel about it, but they're in the ballpark of like $2,000 right now. And it's like an auction. It's like currently going up. It
definitely feels like a bubble. I don't think the values we're seeing jump around make any sense at all, but that doesn't mean the underlying concept doesn't have value and might not persist. It just might not be crazy like this, right?
So for people who are new to this, are hearing about this for the first time, we should mention some of the pieces of art that have sold. So like, what is it called? Nyan Cat?
Nyan Cat? Nyan Cat?
Yeah, Nyan Cat. It's like that cat that looks like a Pop-Tart and is flying with a rainbow behind it.
Rainbows,
It's an animated GIF that's been super popular on the internet for a long time, and it became an NFT and was sold for the equivalent of $660,000 US. Presumably, it was probably sold on Ethereum or something. I don't know which blockchain this was on.
Well, it sounds like the majority of all this that's going on right now is on the Ethereum blockchain, because they have these kind of like contracts built into the technology.
Right. So like NFTs were already like a part of the structure of Ethereum's blockchain. But presumably, any blockchain that supports NFTs, you could sell something like this on it, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
We also had, I think, the most expensive thing that's sold on an NFT market right now is an artist named Beeple. Had 5,000 individual pieces of art, put them together as a collage, and sold it as a thing called Every Day's the First 5,000 Days. And it sold through the Christie's auction house for $69 million, which
it's just
I
what?
believe I read that makes him the most valuable living artist. So like NFTs have now made like one artist the most money of any living artist.
So this is why I say it sure feels like a bubble to me. Like I'm not jumping in on this to try and do any investing, but I can see why people are, I guess.
Yeah. And before we talk about why I'm kind of morally opposed to this, there's still questions I have just about like the basic functionality of how this stuff works. Like, what exactly does it mean to even... people throw around the verb mint. You mint an NFT. You create it on the blockchain. But I don't know what that means.
Well, I from a technical perspective, I'm not sure. But I think it's basically you are tying a thing that you've created to a serial number in essence, and saying this is the thing. This is the NFT that represents this object. And there has to be an understanding. Everybody has to agree that has value, but people are agreeing, so it does. And because it's on the blockchain, blockchain is all about verifying ownership. It's a ledger of saying who owns what piece of Bitcoin, who owns what piece of Ethereum, who owns what NFT. And, all these computers around the world work on math problems that are hard. And when those math problems are done, it moves on to the next step. And that's how we prove who owns what, this proof of work. And so you put this smart contract on the blockchain and you prove who owns what. And, what's interesting is there's even provisions for like the original artist can add terms to the NFT, like
Yeah.
that they get a kickback every time the NFT is resold to someone else. So you can transfer an NFT just like you can transfer a Bitcoin or a piece of Ethereum, and there can be rules that the original artist gets 10% of whatever that transaction was, and the blockchain
Right.
enforces all that.
Which I like that idea because it continually gives value back to the artist, and presumably I would imagine that discourages people from just flipping a piece of art because they're going to have to sell it for at least a 10% profit to cover that
Right.
built-in 10% fee, right?
Or whatever the fee's set to. I don't think. I think
you can set it to
10%
whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've seen some set to 20%. It seems like a lot of the stuff is for sale on an app called Foundation,
Okay.
which is where I see a lot of this stuff. If people are curious, if they just want to go to Foundation and see it. Do you know? Do we know if it's possible to like delete an NFT?
I wouldn't think so. No. I mean, it's
like once it's in the blockchain, it's in the ledger.
It's in the blockchain. Yeah, somebody owns it. It's not like you can just make it disappear. You can just do nothing with it. You know.
I guess I ask because I know that one of the problems that this is not a problem that's unique to NFTs. This is a problem that's part of all of art. But like, I could just go on a Google image search right now, download an image, and I could mint it into an NFT and sell it to someone for thousands of dollars, which has happened. Now, of course, I'm committing copyright fraud or copyright infringement by doing that. It's not my right to do that, and there are legal avenues to go after me for doing that. But there's nothing built into the blockchain that says I can't steal art and sell it.
But when you're buying an NFT, you need to know who you're buying it from, like that. Just like in the real world, right? If somebody on the street says they're going to sell you a Picasso, you might have some questions, I would hope.
Right. But yeah, something you're seeing just because of the craziness of the trend. People are so excited to get in on it that it's easy to
scam some people.
Yeah. And then we should clarify, when you buy an NFT, like we said, you're really just buying bragging rights. You have kind of a digital certificate of authenticity. But unless it's written in some contract somewhere, by default, you don't gain any rights over the piece of art. Like
just depends how the sale is written, and there are going to be real world terms associated with the sale of the NFT. I think a lot of them do include provisions that grant you some sort of copyright usage, right? It seems like the majority of these, the artist is retaining their copyright, but maybe also granting you a transferable copyright that follows the NFT to use the image online. You can imagine if you're the person who bought something, you can use it as your profile picture or something like that, right? It just depends on the terms of the contract under which the NFT is sold, just like any other good.
And it seems like for the most part, most of what I've seen, people are not transferring a full copyright over. It's not like once you buy the NFT, you can go after every copy on the internet and try to shut it down. Those copies are probably still going to exist, and they are not part of your NFT. They're just a copy. That's what's so funny about all of this.
It's definitely, it's funny. It's interesting. But you have moral objections, it sounds like. The question I wanted to ask was, all right, so let's get Sriracha up and let's sell an NFT of the Sriracha film. But it sounds like you don't want to participate.
Well, yeah, I feel like I'm definitely missing out because, I'm seeing people sell. You see people selling pictures. I assume you could sell music. You could imagine. I imagine you could sell any digital file,
digital
right?
good, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a lot of I see a lot of pictures. I see a lot of motion graphics work, a lot of videos, a lot of short form videos seem to be kind of what people are interested in right now. But presumably, this episode of the podcast, us talking about NFTs, we could mint this whole episode as an NFT and sell it.
If you weren't so morally opposed to it, I would say let's do that. Maybe someone will give us $100.
There's potentially a big money grab here that I could sell a lot of my work. I could sell Sriracha and maybe someone would buy it. And I've often been told, I've heard this wisdom that you shouldn't, it's not up to you as the artist to tell other people how to value your work. If someone really values me and wants to support me to the tune of $10,000 for an NFT, I shouldn't feel guilty about that. It's not up to me to say, no, I'm not worth that much. There's that part of it where, some of them, I guess I shouldn't denigrate anyone who wants to make money that way. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But my concern is that cryptocurrency as a whole, I believe there's a stat that cryptocurrency in total, all the cryptocurrencies, use like more electricity than Argentina does.
I don't know how much electricity Argentina uses, but yeah,
Right.
I mean, because the way these work is, a ton of computing power has to be thrown at them, and that's what makes it so you can't, make another copy of something, and you can really prove that somebody owns something. There has to be a lot of work involved, and over 50% of the network has to agree. That's a problem.
Yeah. Well,
But that's
I'm
a
also
problem
curious,
with all cryptocurrencies, not just
Yes.
NFTs. I guess is
Right.
There's plenty of people who I feel like are trading Bitcoin and then yelling about NFTs using up a lot of electricity, and it's like, you got to look at the whole environment. And I think
Right,
a lot
my
of
understanding is that NFTs in and of themselves don't use any more electricity. It's kind of like, I've heard the analogy of an airplane taking off. If you don't get on that airplane, it's going to take off anyway. So
Right.
we're already mining all this blockchain stuff, and it's already using a lot of electricity. So you individually making the choice whether to board the plane or not doesn't change the carbon emissions of that plane. But you individually do push the trend. If thousands of us decide that it's really fun to fly on airplanes, they're going to fly more airplanes. So the trend of NFTs certainly adds to global warming, to using more electricity than we need to, and that's my moral opposition to it, and to all cryptocurrency that uses proof of work.
Now, I believe there are some cryptocurrencies that are working to kind of reduce that burden in other ways, mathematical ways that I don't understand, to be honest. So I think this is an issue that will get solved, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I have a hard time getting
different
too
ways.
worked up over it. I don't know how much electricity does Argentina use. I don't even know. Like, that doesn't really mean anything to me. Isn't there?
Well,
I've read this
so-
like a website that will tell you, like, it will quantify
There's a
the
website
carbon emissions.
There's a website called CryptoArt.wtf, and it's actually down right now, and I'll tell you why. It's a good story. But CryptoArt.wtf would just tell you the amount of electricity that a particular piece of art uses. And the numbers seemed ridiculous. It'd be like, this animated GIF that's now an NFT uses the equivalent of a European Union citizen electrical usage for 1 month or 2 months. So the idea of like just a little video clip using as much electricity as a person does in an entire month just seems ludicrous.
Now, you say using like it's ongoing. Is it just taking its share of like all the Ethereum that's been mined and what percentage this NFT is of all that? Like, I don't even understand how you come to those numbers.
Right. I don't fully understand it either. And I think so. CryptoArt.wtf, the guy who made it, actually decided to take it down, and his reasoning is a good allegory for like the debate that's happening right now about environmental issues. He thinks it's really important to raise this debate, and so that's why he built the site in the first place. But he found that what was happening is that people were attacking specific artists based on their carbon footprint that his website was saying they had, and comparing artists, like, your piece of art uses more electricity than this piece of art. And he didn't think that was fair to artists. He wants to see artists making money off their work, but he does also think that this debate needs to be addressed by the platforms, by the crypto blockchains and all that. Yeah. But I guess I wonder, like, does a piece of art, like, if we minted this entire episode, does that somehow use more electricity than minting a 5-second video clip?
That's what
I guess I don't know enough about what it means to mint.
I don't think so. I can't imagine why, but now we're entering the realm where we're guessing and not...
Yeah. Well, and I want to explain a little bit further why I'm morally opposed to like blockchain electrical usage. We could solve this two different ways. We could solve this with either all electricity is renewable and maybe it doesn't have an environmental impact, then we're good. Or if the blockchains move to what's called a proof of stake system, which I guess Ethereum has been saying for a long time they want to move to that, but they're not doing that yet. Which is what you were saying, like change the math around how the blockchain works could use a lot less electricity. But I think you don't see a push for that because electricity is inherently why crypto has value, because it's built into it that tomorrow it needs to be harder to mine than today. So tomorrow it inherently has to use more electricity than today. So to just maintain value, for my Bitcoin to be worth $55,000 today and $55,000 tomorrow, I need to burn more electricity tomorrow to do that. And that just seems wildly irresponsible to me, that we've tied the value of an entire cryptocurrency that doesn't necessarily have to be tied to burning down the planet. It's like it's engineered to destroy the planet more tomorrow than it is today to maintain value. And that just seems crazy to me.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. So for now, that's why I think I'm going to stay out of NFTs. And I guess I'm lucky that I already sold all my crypto earlier this year or last year.
Interesting. So that means I can't
sell
this podcast because I think we'd have to both agree.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we probably would. Now, I guess, I just went on my little Earth diatribe, but I do want to say that I don't judge anyone listening to this right now. I'm sure a bunch of people have already sold NFTs. Some of you who are listening are thinking about doing it. I don't want to judge you individually for your choice to do that because, like I said, I'm kind of on the fence. Like, it does seem like this could be a great moment right now for you to make money. And so often artists don't have these opportunities to make money. And, it's a murky issue. People are going to be doing it anyway, whether you do it or not. So it's hard to say that you have an actual environmental impact.
Yep, it's interesting. I kind of was hoping we were going to sell Sriracha on it.
But please don't download my stuff and sell it on my behalf.
I might do that.
Or I guess I'd be okay if if someone wants to throw in the comments I guess I don't know the terminology. These clearinghouses or the sales websites, these networks that sell the NFTs. If they're working on a blockchain, if they operate on a blockchain that's a proof of stake blockchain instead of a proof of work blockchain, they potentially don't have the environmental issues.
There we go. And then you can sell Sriracha and get rich.
Yeah, let's do it. Find me the right platform.
I bet Sriracha could sell for some money. People really like the documentary and people love the sauce and they want a little piece of it,
Yeah.
It's too bad you won't do the experiment. I'm a little disappointed.
Right. Well, it's something I keep seeing video people doing. Like Kevin Parry, who I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, he sold his one thing on I think on Foundation. I don't know if he said how much he made. Oh yeah, he sold it for 3.4 Ethereum, which
that's a lot.
At the time, it was $5,500.
Nice.
So good for him. But it kind of looks like he came to the conclusion from all of the comments he was reading that I think that may have been his one and only jump into NFTs. I think he's done with it for now.
Interesting.
Which I could imagine a lot of video people going through that same evolution, selling one, thinking this is kind of cool, learning a little bit about why people are mad about it. Also, probably just good for you to know if you are going to get into this. Depending on the following you have on social media, you might get some pushback, and it'd probably be good to educate yourself about it so you understand how to explain to people why you decided to do it and why maybe your participation isn't all that bad energy-wise.
A lot to think about. I just wish I had something that anyone would value that I could try to sell. But I don't
That's
think
the thing.
I
There's
do.
such a craze right now. You could sell any single piece of video. I mean,
I could sell my hard drive shucking video. That's my most popular video.
I mean, I went on foundation.app, what I imagine has to be the most popular platform for selling NFTs right now. And everything looks very artsy, which is what you'd expect. But then I was scrolling down and one of the videos was just looked like an iPhone shot video of a woman eating an orange. And it's Oh, I guess no one's actually bid on it, so maybe it has no value. But she's asking like $1,500 for it. It looks like.
And is it a bidding thing? Like you can set a minimum and.
Yeah, it looks like there's a reserve price on this. So yeah, my understanding is, I mean, most of these look like auctions, a lot like eBay, where you can set a reserve. The one thing you have to recognize is that most of these sites put the pricing in the cryptocurrency,
Ethereum.
so you have to know the conversion rates and understand what 0.4 Ethereum is.
Very interesting. Very
I think
interesting.
Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, was selling his first tweet.
I bet that went for some money.
I'm not even entirely sure if it's sold yet, but it looked like it was as high as like 2.5 million, but might still be in the process of being auctioned on. That's what's so weird about, like, it's happening across all these different sites, all these different blockchains, and they all have different, like, different user interfaces, and I can't even tell like what number I'm looking at. Is this I think it's a US dollar number, and I can't tell if there's time left on the auction or not. Do you know
something?
One of my lingering questions is, because this is like unique to each blockchain, like there's an NFT structure built into the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah.
If I sell Sriracha on the Ethereum blockchain using like Foundation or something, can I then go sell it on a different blockchain?
Sure.
And it's like unique to each blockchain?
Yeah, but is it unique then? Like, what will the person who bought the first one think, and what will the person who's buying the new one, knowing that there's another one out there, right? If I'm making basketball trading cards, and I say I'm only gonna print 10 of these, and so people spend a ton of money on them, and they say, "Ha, just kidding, I'm printing 10 more." I could do it probably. There's probably no law against it, but again, a lot of this comes down to reputation, and I would assume terms and conditions when you sell something.
Right.
Maybe you pledge not to do that in a legally binding way. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But inherent in the technology, I don't believe there's anything stopping you from doing that.
Right. Yeah. Did you bring up NBA trading cards because of what the NBA is doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what popped into my head. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for people who aren't aware, the NBA has gotten into this game pretty early, and they are selling video clips, right, of like major plays,
like highlights,
through NBA
like
history.
This like crazy famous dunk. You can be the owner of this clip, which again is a lot like a modern day trading card, right? I mean,
right. It feels like a really good fit for NFTs.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a trading card. Yeah. Except it's like trading cards already had kind of like a false scarcity built into them. Like, we're going to print 2,000 of these, and then we're going to print a different color. So it's similar to NFTs, that it's just like a false scarcity. Like, we've just engineered it to be scarce.
Right. As we do with so much in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Nike is in the NFT game now too.
Why wouldn't they be?
Right, yeah. This is their whole business model.
Oh, I think I read about that. Like, they actually have like a sneaker blockchain that ties to real world objects. I think I read something about that too.
Well, there you go. We should just make a Hey Indie Filmmakers blockchain that like
proof of stake,
doesn't destroy the world.
Of work. Yeah.
And no one uses it, so there just won't be a lot of value built.
Well, me and you will use it, and we're pretty popular, so we could really move some mountains, I feel like.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what else to say about this topic. It's very strange. It'll be interesting to see how long this wave lasts. I don't think these high values are going to last. That's just what my guess. Who knows, right? This is why I don't pick stocks, because I don't know, but I have my own guess.
Right.
And but it's interesting.
And this is an episode probably more than most where I'd love to hear specifically what you think about this debate, whether you care about the environmental impact, whether you think this is a dumb thing that no one should spend money on, or if you have some great examples of artists and video artists especially who have used this successfully.
Well, if we want to get feedback from our audience on this, I don't know are we ready to talk about this? The Clubhouse we did last week?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about it.
Might be a good way to get some feedback. So last week,
speaking of other digital trends,
yes, gosh, we are awful trendy. we did our first Clubhouse and did a little talk back on our previous episode. We didn't really announce it much, but I think you put it on Twitter, and we got some people to join. So thanks to those who joined and chatted with us.
If you're not familiar with Clubhouse, it's an audio app. I mean, we're kind of late to the game. It's been around for many weeks, but it's an audio only app where it kind of feels like a convention or like a film festival, where like we made a room. It's essentially like a panel at a film festival, and people can come sit in the audience and listen, or we can invite them up onto the stage through stage metaphorically. We were tapping a button to let people talk with us, and we had a little conversation with some fans of the podcast. So
maybe we do one, the week after this episode drops, and chat with people, see what they think about NFTs. Maybe we got some people who are deep into the NFTs creating and or buying. It'd be kind of fun to get other people's points of view.
So we don't have a date and time yet for our next Clubhouse talk back about the podcast, but if you are on Clubhouse and you just want to look up me or Nick, you can follow us, and it'll let you know when we do our next event.
Yes, indeed. We'll put those handles in the description. Yes? In the notes down below.
Yeah. And I imagine Clubhouse is still invite only, or like in its beta phase?
I think it is invite only, but I think it's pretty easy to get an invite now. So if you need an invite, just let us know.
Yeah. And also, we're probably going to see more of this kind of platform. Like Twitter has already started something called Twitter Spaces, and they're preparing to roll it out to the broader community. So it may be that in the future we do something like that on Twitter too. Mm-hmm. Well, let's take a quick break, and after we will answer a question about flying drones in New York City and how to plug in an old camcorder into a modern computer.
Hanging to Filmmakers is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your filmmaking business.
We've talked a lot today about my film Sriracha, which I made in 2013, but I was thinking about it today because it's March, and it was this time of year that I decided I needed to make the film, and it took me an 8-month period to December to completing it. And I was just thinking about all of the audience building I did for that, how useful it would have been if I had my Squarespace site back then. With the all-in-one template, I could do everything I need to do to promote the film, build an email list. Now is the time of year to start building your dream, and you can do that on Squarespace.
So check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Griffin to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
So Nick, we got a question on YouTube that I thought was a really fun one. Do you want to read this one?
Sure. Hugh Perkins on YouTube commented, "Am I allowed to fly a drone indoors in my own apartment in New York City?"
What would be your guess?
I would guess yes, because I don't think FAA regulations apply to indoor spaces, but I could be way wrong. If you tell me I'm wrong, I guess I won't be super surprised.
Right. I'm pretty sure the FAA does not regulate what happens inside your apartment. And so my knee-jerk reaction is, yes, you can do it. I've done it many times. But then again, he's asking this based on the rules in New York. And technically, the rules in New York are very, kind of strict and vague at the same time. The rule is just drones are illegal in New York. And so if you're following the letter of the law, presumably the city would say you're not allowed to, even though that's ridiculous. Like, of course you're allowed to. So I think you're fine.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
And I've flown for a client indoors before.
Yeah?
Like, I've flown inside a warehouse in New York, and I feel like that's perfectly safe and legal.
Speaking of, sorry to transition on you really fast. Have you seen that drone shot of the bowling alley that's going around the internet?
Oh, of course, yeah. It's been shared everywhere.
Apparently that's real and a single shot. Is that true as far as you know? That's what I read.
I didn't investigate it, but I assumed so. Like,
All right, we'll put a link to this crazy, awesome drone shot, and actually really good sound design too. I don't know if you actually listened to it, but really well done sound design in that video.
Yeah, worth listening to because it's a great example of like sound design really selling an effect because it's amazing piloting, but it's because you hear everything so intimately that it really feels like it just feels very immersive.
Right. So we'll link to that below. I thought that was so cool. Sorry, I got all excited when I remembered that.
No, yeah, it's amazing and being shared a lot for good reason. We also got a YouTube comment from Juan Sarmiento, who has a very old Sony camcorder, like the one that you and I each had in high school. Do you still have yours?
No, it broke.
Yeah.
I got a box of tapes, though, that I feel like I can't throw out, but I can't watch or do anything with, and I don't think there's anything valuable on them, but I still have them. I should have you bring your camera
mine still
sometime,
works.
And I should transfer them all and see if there's anything worth keeping. Sorry, go ahead. Question.
So Juan's old camcorder has a Firewire 400 connector, which is the original kind, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That he used to use to connect to an old Mac, but he can't do it anymore with modern Macs. So he ordered a USB cable that he could plug into the camera. And when he tries to plug it in, it doesn't work. So he's wondering how I plug in mine.
Do you have an answer, or do you need me to come up with one on the fly?
No, I think I do. Although I'm curious, like, what's the oldest Firewire device you have?
So here's what I think, and you tell me if I'm right, okay? Since you seem to know. Here's the chain I would go through. I think it should still work. You should be able to go from Firewire 400 to 800 with a cable or an adapter, and then from Firewire 800 to Thunderbolt, and then you probably then have to go from Thunderbolt to Thunderbolt 2 at a minimum to actually get it into a modern Mac. But I think those should all be able to daisy chain if you get the right adapters and cables. Does that sound even remotely right?
I think that's exactly what I'm doing. And when you say Thunderbolt 2, that's the USB-C form factor?
Probably, yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like a modern MacBook Pro or an iMac have those little thin USBs on the back,
Like Thunderbolt 1 looked like those mini DisplayPort connectors, I think, like a square with a little house shape.
Like a D shape, Yeah, I was kind of amazed that it worked because I had so many different cables because my camcorder, like his presumably, is a Firewire 400, which is like the really old standard, like, 15 years old?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 4-pin, so it's like this little weird shape, like an M. And I guess a few years ago at a Best Buy, I bought like a Belkin adapter that turns that into a Firewire 800, which was a standard that lasted a little bit longer and was used in a lot of hard drives. So I had Firewire 800 cables sitting around. And then I do have a little, I think when I got the iMac that I use now, it had Thunderbolt 1, the D shape, the DisplayPort shape. And so I bought an adapter for that. And then when I got my MacBook Pro, I had a bunch of Thunderbolt 2 ports, and so I had to get another adapter. And I couldn't believe like all 3 adapters work together. I kind of assumed I could only use like one of them, that they were all backward compatible with each other.
It's kind of magic.
Amazing. Yeah. So it takes 3 adapters to do it. Although, I don't know, someone's probably made a
single one, maybe.
Yeah. Although I guess I don't know what USB cable he's talking about. He says he got one from China that's a USB cable. Like, maybe it's
I don't think going to USB in any way is going to work. Now, if he just means USB-C and it's actually Thunderbolt, maybe, but...
Oh, that might be his issue. So he might have gotten something that went to USB-C, not realizing that
there's all these
USB-C and Thunderbolt 2 are actually 2 different standards using the same port.
Even though they use the same plug,
that's a good answer.
And when you use all these adapters, does it show up in Final Cut like a camera that it can control?
Yeah, it still shows up in... That's kind of what I like about Final Cut is... I mean, well, there's probably something similar in Premiere. I just can't believe that this modern piece of software still supports DV importing.
Seriously.
But it works.
All right, so next time you come visit me, and hopefully the world is opening back up and that can happen again sometime in the next bit of time, I'll have to have you bring your camera and we can test this out and record all my old tapes onto digital, and then I can finally throw this box away that I've been carrying around for years.
Yeah, we'll take everything that we have on digital 8 tapes, turn them into NFTs, and then make a ton of money.
Boom. Can you imagine the nonsense that are on these tapes? It's us in high school making videos. Like, that's what's on.
Yeah.
So it's going to be good. You too could own a piece of filmmaking history. Griffin Hammond, starring in... What movies did we make? The Naper Witch Project.
Yeah, except that was even pre-digital age. We made that on
yeah,
VHS.
Right. We shot that on VHS. That's right.
We edited that on VHS, which I suppose anyone
Linear
who's younger
editing.
than us probably didn't have that experience.
Do we still have that anywhere? I don't think I have a copy of it.
I'm not sure I do either.
That
It's
would
probably
be really
for the best.
sad. No, we need to... That's what I should do, is I should start putting some of these crazy videos online that embarrass you, since you're a professional now.
Right, yeah. Well, if you were behind the camera, you might have a copyright claim. I mean, you might own the copyright.
And I was generally the camera guy.
Yeah, you were.
So we got that going for us. All right. Well, I think we cleared up NFTs. I think there are no questions left to answer about it. It's crystal
it doesn't
clear.
raise any question. But hopefully, if you had very minimal knowledge about it, hopefully we got you up to speed so you can understand what's happening all around you on the internet right now.
And if we got anything horribly wrong, let us know, because I am sure we got at least some fact wrong in that conversation.
Right. Yeah. I probably got my Argentina terawatts statistic wrong or something.
All right, my friend. We will chat with you next time or on Clubhouse.
On Clubhouse, yeah. It's good talking to you.
Yeah, talk to you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Non-fungible token. Is it fungible? Am I saying it right? Fungible?
Fungible, I think that's right.
Okay.